Hi, I'm Graham. Welcome back to Man vs Film, and I have got 10 fantastic movies for you to check out this October on Amazon Prime UK 2019. So let's just get started with number 10, Sucker Punch. A young girl is locked away in a mental asylum by her abusive stepfather, where she will undergo a lobotomy in 5 days' time. Faced with unimaginable odds, she retreats to a fantastical world in her imagination, where she and 4 other female inmates in the asylum plot to escape this facility. It's fair to say that Zack Snyder's film is flawed. It doesn't flow the conventional ways or go with It's fair to say that Zack Snyder's movie is flawed in elements, but I still find it really interesting to look at. I love the main characters, I love the fantastical worlds that they go into, the adventures that they are put upon. It's the larger story round about it that I don't really warm to, but still I can live with it. It's not so egregious that it puts me off. I love the world, the characters, and the fantastical elements that just wow me every time I watch it. Number 9, The Stuff. A delicious, mysterious goo oozes from the earth. It's marketed as The Stuff and becomes the newest dessert sensation. The American public literally eats it up. But it takes over those who eat it, turning them into zombie-like creatures with no will to do anything but eat more of the bizarre substance. I absolutely love The Stuff. It's a B-movie in the grandiose sense, and it is held together by a rather strange but wonderful main performance from Michael Moriarty. This is a really weird movie about goo, just about goo, but it's done in such a fantastic way with great dialogue, terrific characters, and pretty inventive and fun special effects that it can't help but just marvel. It's a strange thematic tale of consumerism, but it's really great, and one that you could almost bypass, but let's stop and give it a watch this time. Number 8, Hell Comes to Frogtown. Sam Hell is a prisoner of the female faction who took over the US after a nuclear war. Mutants thrive in the wasteland while humans face possible extinction due to infertility. Bomb strapped to his crotch, Hell is forced to rescue a group of fertile women for a harem ran by an evil mutant gang. Absolutely bonkers title to go with a bonkers movie. Headlined by Rowdy Piper, who was terrific in They Live. He shows some of that charisma in this really weird and wonderfully practically effect-laden movie, Hell Comes to Frogtown. Now, of course, the mutants are all frog-like and centric. It's a weird post-apocalyptic movie that's really kind of campy, but incredibly fun at the same time. This is one that I just discovered a couple of years ago, and it fast became a favourite 80s classic for mine. One that most people would just kind of turn their nose up at when you hear the title. That's a huge mistake. Number 7, Creepshow 2. EC Comics inspired weirdness returns with 3 tales of terror. In the first, a wooden statue of a Native American comes to life to exact revenge on the murder of his elderly owners. In the second, 4 teens are stranded on the raft in a lake with a blob that is hungry. And in the third, a hit-and-run woman is terrorised by the hitchhiker she accidentally killed. Or did she really kill him? I love the Creepshow movies. I love horror anthologies. It's one of my favourite guilty pleasures type thing. Now, most of these times you get tales that are up and down, and you never really get a solid anthology where all of the titles are really strong. Creepshow did that. They were all exceptional. Creepshow 2 followed up with 3 fantastic tales, including, I think, possibly my favourite segment from any anthology series, The Blob. The middle segment here was one that I saw when I was really young, and it stuck with me. It's really well done, fantastic. But that's not to say that the other 2 are lesser. They're both just as good as well. A great movie, especially for October. Number 6, Sahara. Master explorer and former US Navy SEAL Dirk Pitt and his wisecracking buddy Al Giordino goes on the adventure of a lifetime, seeking out a lost Civil War ironclad battleship known as the Ship of Death that protects a secret cargo is lost somewhere in the deserts of West Africa. But while the 2 cross paths with a beautiful and brilliant UN scientist who has also been hounded by a ruthless dictator. I kind of liked Sahara. It was never perfect, but it was a kind of throwback to Indiana Jones type of adventures. You get a buddy comedy with these 2 kind of bromantic leads. You get the romantic story put in with the subplot. You get an evil warlord to sort of rile against. You get a okay story that could have done with a little bit of trimming, but it's just a fun adventure movie. Number 5, Cannibal Ferox. Anthropologists take a trip to the jungle of Colombia to study native cannibals. Instead, they find a band of drug dealers using the natives to harvest cocoa leaves. After a while, the natives are tired of being tortured slaves and turn on their masters, as well as the anthropologists, thus filling the screen with gruesome splatter. I kind of really like these cannibal movies that came out in the 70s and 80s, and they were notorious for the real blood and guts that happened in it. Looking at it now, they look rather fake, but there is a comfortability within their storytelling, within finding out that the natives aren't really the bad people here. They're just pushed to the end of their rope by these invaders, these Western invaders who want to belittle, torture and use these people. It's always kind of fun, these grime-laden horror movies, and I think this is one of these ones that had a kind of unfair reputation about it. I kind of enjoy it, which I guess says a lot about me. Number 4, The Strange Vice of Mrs. Wardh. Newly married to an older man, Julie returns to Vienna, where a razor-wielding slasher is killing women. Jean, her cruel and sadistic former lover, immediately contacts her, certain that only he can satisfy her strange vice. But she rejects him in favour of George, the handsome cousin of a friend of hers. Sergio Martino directs Edwidge Fenech in this terrific giallo-laden movie that is probably unlike other things you have seen before. I thought I'd throw this on the list because it's a movie that you may not have discovered before, and it's one that I think is worth giving a shot to. I really do like the giallo, the black gloved colour that hunts down people, and I like the sort of dynamics in the storyline between this one, between the relationships between the former lover, the new lover, the husbands, the friends that go on in here, and I think there is some fantastic performances in this from George Hilton and Edwidge Fenech, like I said. And if you're looking for a way into giallo, I think this is a good entry point. Number 3, Hector and the Search for Happiness. Disillusioned with the tedium of his existence, psychiatrist Hector confesses to his girlfriend that he feels he is a fraud for dispensing recommendations to patients who never seem to improve or get any happier. He considers breaking out of his lacklustre routine. Summoning up some courage, Hector gives his starved curiosity free rein and embarks on an international quest to find the right formula to bring him joy and vitality. Simon Pegg is Hector in this really fun movie that I just never hear anybody talking about. I haphazardly walked into the cinema knowing nothing about this when it came out, and I just found a movie that was entertaining. Sure, it may not last long in the memory banks afterwards, but during and while watching this film, it's really fun. You get an endearing character of Hector. You get his kind of midlife crisis and how he's trying to break out of it. And the scenarios that he falls into are kind of funny and make you more endeared with the character. It's a nice, easy watch if you're looking for something a little bit lighter. Number 2, It. When young children in the little town Derry, Maine go missing, a group of 7 kids find out that the killer is not a man. The killer is the evil clown Pennywise, who can shapeshift into the thing you are most afraid of. The kids are known as the Losers Club, decide to fight and kill it. But how can you fight something who knows all your biggest fears? With the release of It Chapter 2 and not really living up to the first part, I went back to the first one to see if it still held up, and I found it to be ridiculously good. I am endeared with all the characters more than the horror elements of this movie. In fact, it is the characters, their relationships, and how they just come together, galvanise and defeat all the kind of bullies round about them that really attracts me to the storyline. It makes me warm to the characters, and as much as that was missing in the second half of this story time, I'm always going to look at the first one as just a condensed story. It has a finish, it's a good movie, it's a great character study, and it's just a fun piece of entertainment. Number 1, Green Book. Tony, a tough bouncer, is looking for work. The most promising offer turns out to be the driver for an African-American classical pianist, Don Shirley, for a concert tour in the Deep South. Although hardly enthused for working for a black man, Tony accepts the job and they begin to trek together. The snobbishly erudite pianist and the shrewdly practical bouncer can barely get along, but over this journey they will learn to get along. Green Book just looked like your typical Oscar Beatty kind of movie. I was going to see it because I go and see pretty much anything, and I was just wowed by how charismatic I was won over by the 2 leads. Their relationship was fantastic. The humour was fantastically on point. I loved the idiosyncrasies of both of these characters, how they were complete polar opposites and how they tried to make each other's lives a little bit easier, to integrate each of them a little bit better into society, and it was incredibly fun. It was one of those ones that I left the cinema with a huge beaming smile on my face, having watched something that was just wildly entertaining. And if you looked at the trailers and thought, it just looks like the kind of typical thing that I've seen before, give it a shot. It's really worthwhile checking out. Great characters, great comedy, great moments, and just a great film. So there we have it, 10 movies for you to check out this October on Amazon Prime UK. If you have any comments about any of the movies on my list, or anything you think I've missed out, let me know in the comment box below, and I'll see you next time on Man vs Film.